What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bludborn, and in this video, I've got something a little special for you when it comes to New World. But before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and follow me over on my Twitch channel for more New World content in the future. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so a couple days ago, we got an invite from Amazon Game Studios to check out a kind of sneak peek at an update that is coming to the alpha. It was an exclusive event, and so we got to go in and record some cool stuff, and I'm going to get to share that stuff with you guys now. So let's take a look at it. The biggest thing about this preview was probably going to be the actual region that is getting added to it, which is Reekwater. Now, Reekwater is a max level area, so the mobs that are running around there are, upper level 50s and 60s and things like that. It is a very difficult area to move around in. I'll just put it that way. There's a lot of high level enemies that do a lot of damage. Now, the character that we got put on was a level 60, had all the attribute points that you could have, has your pick of weapons and things like that, and the gear we had was all item level 650. It wasn't legendary or anything like that, but it was still level appropriate gear. Now, what's really cool about this zone too is that there are new enemies out there that have new AI hooked up to them. So if you've played in the preview or the beta or the alphas, this stuff is new. There's different mechanics that are happening in the world here that, if you approach these things like you would have in the past, you're going to get wrecked, and it's going to be fun. This is going to be a difficult area for someone to solo. This is going to be something that you're probably going to want to have people with you if it were to launch as we experienced in this event. Now, keep in mind, this is an early look at this, so a lot of these things are likely to change over time once it drops onto the alpha server and players start giving their feedback and things like that. So keep that in mind. As always, anytime we talk about something that's alpha or beta, pre-released, early access, anything like that. Now, one thing I want to point out with this zone, it is very, very awesome to look at. It actually has several different feelings to it. There's a couple places that are more ethereal to them. They have this more ghost-like vibe to them. And then there's other places that are more ancient feeling, with more runes that kind of feel like an extension of some of the other temples and obelisks and things like that we're accustomed to in some of the other areas of Eternum. Now, I didn't spend a whole lot of time questing because I did kind of want to get a feel for the zone and see what it looked like and felt like. I did pick up a couple of the quests out of the gate, and it was a little bit more of what we were seeing in the preview with, go to X location and pick up crates or kill X mobs. And that is something that over time has been discussed and things like that, with getting that to where the quest had a little bit more variety. And I still hope that we see more of that come out and flesh out more of the story to more of a full-bodied MMO experience. Kind of a side note, just from having experienced the preview event and even seeing where it is now and reading the alpha patch notes and things like that, they're listening to feedback. They're actually very engaged with it, which is really refreshing to see. And just, the preview event was only a couple months ago, and to see the amount of changes that have taken place, not every change is very easy to make. So it is very cool to see the changes that have been made. And again, I don't know where this particular preview, since it is an early look, I don't know where this fits in with the rest of the alpha structure and stuff like that. So we'll have to see how that goes once we get closer to beta in the spring and ultimately release. But to sum up Reekwater, I think they did a fantastic job with this zone. It has enough of the qualities of previous zones to feel connected to the rest of Eternum, but it also has enough different features that it just feels very different from the rest of it. And, you know, like I said, it being a higher level area, you know, just walking around and you hear something coming after you, you really have to be kind of looking over your shoulders if you're solo, and it's a lot of fun like that. But I really am looking forward to playing this with other people in a group and tackling some of the higher end content that is in this area. Now, this is something that was said in an interview a while back, was that they wanted to focus in on that mid to end game content. And this is one of those first pieces of that we're actually seeing. And from what I can see so far, minus the questing being very similar, I like it that there's another area that's for high-end content. I'm really looking forward to that part. The next thing that was that we were able to preview in this was the spear. The spear was added to the game. Now, if you watched my previous video, you know that we actually talked about the patch notes, and we kind of looked it over at a high level, looking down at just what it looked like on paper. Now, actually getting to play with the spear, I like it. You know, you get to keep mobs at a little bit of a greater distance. It's a little bit quicker. And the changes, kind of a little bit of a departure. Using the hatchet is much closer range than it used to be. So actually having the spear in there now, you have your long range melee of the spear. You have kind of a medium with the sword, and then you have the short with the hatchet. You also have that warhammer in there, but the warhammer is very slow, but doing a lot of damage. So the spear, though, with its two different lines, gives you a lot of versatility. You actually get the AoE, kind of like a cyclone type of ability, with, you know, a sweep ability in there, and being able to throw your spear like a javelin to be able to knock down a target. And then also on the other side of it, you get the more traditional spear effect, like bleeds and piercing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of versatility with the spear. And with the changes that were made to weapon combat and swapping, it makes it a lot more fluid to be able to throw the spear to knock something down, hit it with a harder hitting weapon, switch back to it to make them bleed, things like that. So combat is becoming more dynamic, and being able to get my hands on that dynamic content, or the dynamic combat, it actually feels pretty good. Now, there's still some lag between switching weapons in certain circumstances based on animation delay, and hopefully that can get cleaned up a little bit. But being able to have the per weapon cooldowns that we talked about, and being able to switch between those weapons, really kind of fleshed out combat a little bit better and gives it a little bit more uniqueness and dynamic flow to actually fighting. And the last thing that we got to check out in this preview was fishing. Now, what MMO would not be complete if it did not have fishing? This has actually got a very interesting take on fishing. It's not just throwing a line out there and, you know, pulling a fish and that's it. And this one's actually pretty unique because you actually have your different baits based on what type of water you're in. So if you're inland, you're actually going to have fresh water, and if you are on the beach, you'll have salt water. And the fish that are in those bodies of water react differently to the different baits that you use, and they will actually they actually don't do the same thing each time, which is really cool. Now, what you'll see on the screen is that there is a UI that pops up that actually is based on the tension of the line. So you can actually snap your line. You can, if you don't react, the fish can just swim away. You can miss picking up the fish. So it's not just an old school, just toss the line in. Oh, there's a fish on, click the button again, and it's in. You can actually determine how far your cast goes. So if you actually get this meter, and this is kind of like those old, the kicker portion of a football game where you have the meter that goes up and down, and you have to hit it at the right point to get the maximum distance and things like that. Pretty cool stuff as far as fishing goes. I'm not usually someone who likes that type of content, but to be fair, other games it was pretty bland. Now there's lots of different fish based on it. I didn't get to catch a whole lot of them. We only had a little bit of time to spend in the game, so I went to a couple different areas and tried a couple different baits and things like that. And it was kind of cool to have a little bit different of a approach to fishing. Now, as you might expect, there are different rarities of fish, and also the fish can be used in recipes for cooking, and that's ultimately going to be a good thing going forward. Give you a lot more diversity as far as the cooking recipes in the game, give you another skill profession to go after. This does level up. Now, one thing to point out with fishing is you can fish anywhere there is water. Now, there are additional hot spots, and this looks like little bubbling water. Now, I couldn't actually find one. I didn't come across one while I was roaming around looking at all the bodies of water trying to find them. But the hotspot is supposed to give you better chances at the rarities if you're using the right bait and things like that. So again, an interesting take on fishing. I'm glad it's incorporated into the rest of the crafting, not just like other games where it's just it's just fishing. This is incorporated into the crafting system, so it's a little bit more meaningful, and I think they're doing a great job with adding other things for players to do into the game. So that's going to go ahead and wrap this up. I do want to thank Amazon Game Studios and New World for inviting us in to take a look at that. I think this update that's coming out for the alpha is going to be great. And also, it gives me a lot of hope, having played the preview and playing this, seeing what they were able to do in a short amount of time, being able to flesh out an entire new zone, add another feature to the game, add the weapon. Now, we are looking for some additional weapons that had been talked about in previous videos and things like that, but we still have several months between now and the beta, so a lot can change in that, and that's exciting. So again, I always urge people to provide feedback. So if you see stuff in the video, or you're watching other people's videos, or if you are even in alpha and things like that, please participate. Now is the time to get that information in there to craft the game that you want. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. I'm very excited to see what you have to say about it, and I look forward to talking to you all again soon, and hopefully I see you guys in the live streams as well. Thanks, and I'll see you later.